want to apologize in advance if some of my words may offend. There has been no deeper pain than losing Fabio at the hands of betrayal from the woman he honored. What Monica did shattered more than just my life. The details of her lies tore through my heart as I sat in this courtroom. Every single day, I feel pain as I think of Fabio, of what he might have felt and saw as his life flashed before him just before his death. The faces of Baker and Austin repeatedly attacking him, and knowing that Monica was behind his heinous attack. It haunts me to think how much my brother suffered, that it brings me to my knees. He was sitting in his special chair, the one place he treasured, and it tears a strip from my soul thinking about Monica's sentencing and how I pray she has a life in a prison for her life sentence. Fabio Sementilli was more than a man. He was a beacon of light, of love, and of loyalty. He lived with a full heart, opening his life to help others see their potential. I loved him every day, and I miss him terribly. He treated his family and friends with respect and was loyal to a fault. Fabio grew up with no father from the age of 11, and our mother sacrificed to raise a family with dignity. Since the day I met Monica over 25 years ago, I respected her like a sister because my brother wanted to build a life with her. Reminiscing is too painful, and it deepens the wounds. I've spent the last 6 months learning about the depths of the deceit and the evil Monica brought into our lives. Every day has the details of her unfaithfulness, her greed, and her lack of accountability unfolded during the trial. I relive the pain of my loss and the merciless murder of my brother Fabio. We came to this courtroom for 72 days seeking justice, and I found solace in the testimonies of people who loved and honored my brother. With little to no sleep, I wanted to be here in this very courtroom for him. I am forever proud of my brother, and I will always remember his boyish smile, beaming with pride as he created his magic, styling and shaping hair like a magician. He loved being a hairstylist behind the chair. He worked hard as a vice president for the Wella division at P&G. With his team, he proudly chartered new paths and took huge strides to make a difference in the hair industry. For my brother, this was an American dream. His memory will forever live, especially in the hearts of hundreds of thousands of people who support him and our family. Today, I want to mark the first day of my journey on letting go of the pain, the horror, and the betrayal I witnessed here in this courtroom. I will no longer hold back. I will forge a path to return to a life filled with joy, family, and friends. I was lucky to work alongside Fabio for over 30 years, and I would often hear him speak highly of his family and his children, especially his wife, Monica. He treated her like royalty, purchased a family home on Queen Victoria Street in LA, and called her his queen. He couldn't wait to get home to his girls and proudly posted about his family. He called her Poots. The world is grieving as they learned of the details of her treachery, an attack planned for nothing more than lust and greed. I am certain that if Fabio had known Monica wanted to be treated like a slut by a sex offender, he wouldn't have ever had to work so hard to offer her a beautiful life. Just over 8 years ago, everything changed. Our lives were turned upside down, and we found ourselves drowning in sorrow and despair. The pain of discovering the extent of Monica's betrayal, her involvement with Baker, her manipulation of our family, and ultimately the cold-blooded murder of my brother. It chokes me. Sometimes I can't describe the agony. I talk about him every day. It's the only thing that helps me cope. I speak his name to replace the pain of grief with the sound of love. It's the only way I know how to survive this nightmare. There are days I cannot even breathe as my throat chokes. My throat closes and I can't speak. I cannot function because the weight of Fabio's murder sits so heavily on my chest. As I learn Monica and her entire family refuse to even say his name, as if pretending he never existed relieves them of their guilt. I've watched in horror, and I've been put through hell as Monica and the Crescentini family taught Fabio's daughters not to grieve, not to cry, and not to honor their father, and ignore the facts and the evidence, having no respect for authority, this court, and the pursuit of justice. Sometimes I wish I could just shake them to show them that they are being lied to. They withheld Fabio's property, a memento from my dying mother. Her heart was broken, and none of them cared. My nieces should be asking the questions, why did our mother bring that predator into our home? Why did she let him sit at our home table? Why did she let him sleep in their father's bed? They should have been fighting to uncover how their mother could be capable of something so vile. Monica destroyed their foundation, their sense of truth, and their ability to grieve. It's heartbreakingly clear she never protected her daughters. She was using them. Your Honor, what Monica did to her daughters and to my nephew Luigi is unforgivable.
All right, let's welcome in our guest for this hour. Still with us, criminal defense attorneys Jack Rice, Josh Schiffer. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Jack, I'll start with you. You know, you can see the sister's anger grow organically, and it's understandable. As she talks about it, she gets more and more angry. I wonder if the fact that California allows you to convict someone of, let's say, in this case, second-degree murder, without actually having your hands on a weapon or actually even being at the scene, would that or should that play any role in how sentencing is looked at?
I say no. I mean, here's the thing. We were talking about this sort of behind the scenes, this notion of conspiracy, the idea of if I'm not the one who's actually perpetrating the act, but I'm the one who's pulling the strings, am I more culpable? Am I less culpable? And I think this is the question that a lot of people have to have. And I think it's really important that people talk about why this matters. A big part of what we do on Court TV, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it, is the transparency that comes from the criminal justice system, the need to see that this works the way that it does. And it's also important for people to understand the way the law is applied because legislators and such in various jurisdictions have decided this is what we want. This is what we believe in. But Michael, if I might, one last point is that when we think about an aspect of this, you can look back at one of the last family members who said, I want to thank the prosecutors. I want to thank the police, because it's important to remember that justice doesn't just happen. It's not just magic and the right answer is the result. That's not how this works. There is an enormous amount of work by all sides to get to the answer that they're trying to get to. So I think not forgetting what the prosecutors have done or what the police have done is also really impressive when these people are hurting at the level that they are, to say, thank you for your heart, for your head. That's amazing too.
Justin, trying to argue that there should be any kind of leniency if you were representing her, how do you offset this emotion? It's raw emotion that's accurate in terms of what she was convicted of doing. What kind of evidence can you think of that might be helpful, if any, that's allowed at sentencing that could also plead her case?
Good luck, Josh.
And at this Yeah, at this juncture, the mitigation, little bit late. We should have started talking about this, before you dragged everybody through a trial, before you had these people come up having 72 days of having to deal with this, having them come up for victim impact statements. Important functions of the court, certainly constitutional rights, but it's a little bit late to suddenly make right after a jury has spoken. And it's the difficulty of what we do. Come on. You're advising a client. They come in. And you say, hey, if we're going to have to try this, we got to run the table. There's no compromising verdict. Nope. You were either involved in this or you weren't. There's not a halvesies. There's not an explanation. That makes sentencing arguments that much more difficult because the jury fully and completely rejected the defense. It's just what it is. What else can you do now as judge?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Jack, you go and you look at it and you look at the aggravating factors here. And quite frankly, they exist. I mean, the way it came out at trial, it was a murder for financial gain. They wanted that money, or at least that's what was claimed, or I would go so far as to say proven in court. Lying in wait, that was clear from the testimony that we heard. I'm not sure there's much you can argue, as Josh mentioned, against these aggravating factors and basically putting her away the rest of her life.
Except maybe her first crime. What if there's no criminal history? She doesn't have criminal history.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you know what? When we're talking about murdering your husband, guess what? It's all gone. That doesn't matter. I mean, you're right. Michael, you're absolutely right. I think what happens is you got to imagine the conversations that we have with our clients about this when, as Josh alluded to, is when you start saying, if you're going to go to trial, understand what that means. It is a yes or no question. It frequently isn't a maybe. Now, sometimes we end up in trial because we're backed into a corner and there were no offers. The only offer was plead guilty straight up and then go down forever. And that happens, and it's happened to me. And so I've seen that where this would not be my choice, but we end up in that space no matter what. And I know Josh has been in the very same place. We've had these conversations together.
Just go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so literally, we don't know how the plea negotiations happen, and that's how they box you in with this. If your choice is life in prison or life in prison, well, I may as well go for life in prison. And it's why you see that where there's space to negotiate, trial is the last gasp. Trial is the last best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Your BATNA, that's gonna be trial. And you don't want to go to trial holding a bad case. State knows that. So I expect that the plea negotiations in this case were a lot of, you're going forever.
Yeah, we get mandatory sentencing sometime, remember? I mean, sometimes we're stuck with a place that says, if you go down, this is it.
And that's part of it. Doesn't matter if you, to your point, have a criminal history or not, especially with mandatory sentencing or something that the judge has to impose. It is what it is.
And sometimes that's not the case, and there's something called a trial tax that I want to talk to them about. But we'll run out of time. I do have to take a break here. When we come back, we'll have more of the sentencing hearing for Monical Sementilli right after the break. Keep it here on Court TV.
To that California courtroom where we've been following the sentencing hearing for Monical Sementilli.
Back in April, you saw right here on Court TV when a jury convicted Sementilli of murder and conspiracy in the stabbing death of her husband, Fabio. The prosecutors argued at trial that Monica and her lover, Robert Baker, killed Fabio to continue their affair and cash in on his life insurance policy worth $1.6 million.
Right now, we are listening to a victim impact statement from Fabio Sementilli's sister. Let's go back into the courtroom together.
I'm in itself. Her sentence should reflect more than just murder. It should reflect the long-term psychological destruction she caused in their lives. She had the audacity to demand a trial and parade around like a woman wronged. And in the end, she exposed not only her shameful affair, but the truth of the kind of mother she was. She is a complete and utter stupid bitch. Watching Baker living 6 months off of blood money, only a devil can manipulate a reality to suit her comforts. In all my worst nightmares, I could never have fathomed this calculated plan. Monica, you are a demon. She can't even look at me. And all your actions and your deceit has told us so. I hope every blood dollar you and your Crescentini family have is used on meds. Traded a beautiful life for trashy garages, dirty beds, Pinot Grigio for tubes of semen from a repulsive convicted sex offender. You didn't just kill Fabio, you humiliated him. You let him carry guilt for working hard while you carried on with a degenerate sex offender. You didn't just kill Fabio. You betrayed him in the most despicable way. Then you held my grieving mother and you pretended to mourn Fabio when you were the killer. On June 14, after your arrest, our lives became a living hell. And your family treated us like predators and not the victims we are. For this colossal betrayal, those who sided with you in silence cannot pretend today to have supported my brother. I get chills recapping the testimony of Deborah Obad, her sister Anna, and my nieces. Shame on them. Shame on all of them. Mena, Grant, sisters, cousins, aunts, and every one of them. For not honoring my brother during the trial. Deborah Obad enjoyed the drama. And I can never understand this sick obsession. She called me the night of the arrest in June and said, Monica's family is looking for the best lawyer money can buy. The Crescentini family stood by and allowed Monica's treachery to fester. The silence is as violent as the act itself. She traded lust for love, family for filth, decency for destruction. She masterminded this egregious murder on my brother. She resorted to murder to make room for Baker. She did this because no one would have accepted that deplorable man. Had she ever divorced Fabio, especially her discerning family. That is why she needed Fabio's life insurance money to dress him up and make him look like a successful man. She enjoyed Baker treating her like a whore, shopping at thrift stores for slutty, skanky clothes. This sleazeball had $40 in the bank. She even paid for the restaurant bills and the hotel bills, all while leaving her girls home alone. What mother does that? There is a deep shame that follows me every day. The shame that comes from what she did to Fabio, from the utter lack of dignity she was shown by the woman he trusted. My mind races and I ache with agony for the way he died alone, bleeding to death, and knowing she had set him up. He knew she had set him up. This overwhelming grief hits me like a ton of bricks. She turned a devoted husband and father into a victim of the most grotesque betrayal any of us have ever known. Her family and friends knew of this monster and felt it was okay to hide this from Fabio. And now they hide behind their defense lawyers, thinking a trial was going to set them free. That humiliation, that weight, it doesn't go away. I am ashamed of this disgusting things that she did behind my brother's back. I'm ashamed she degraded his honor to be in the arms of that gross, low-life pig. The name Sementilli is dignity, hard work, and love. And I demand Monica to surrender it. Despite the mountain of undeniable evidence, Monica was the mastermind behind Fabio's murder. Anna Larson claimed her sister can be trusted. The internet is filled with disgust and rage on how Monica manipulated the lives of hundreds of people who genuinely love Fabio. If there was ever a case that called for the death penalty, this is it. Monica Crescentini and the co-conspirators acted with such depravity, such calculated cruelty, such complete disregard for human life, that it's clear they represented exactly.
All right, Michael, we do have to take a break, but talk about the passion. I mean, she went there. She went into every bit of what she thinks about Monica Sementilli.
Yeah, I mean, she's wrapping up a lot of people on that web, too. She even mentioned the daughters. She mentioned the friend, Deborah Obad.
You are right.
I got to say this. All I can really say is I wish her peace.
Yeah.
Because that kind of anger living within someone, it's not going to be good for her. It's not going to do anything to Monica. It's going to not be good for her. So I wish her peace. I hope this is a sense of closure for her. She gets it off her chest and is able to move on.
And that's part of the opportunity of a
this is all
sentencing
about.
hearing.